Hi everybody, it's RPG Grandma again. I'm getting some filming in. We'll see what I get done today. A couple things. I took a look at Arduin rules, where we're at, like what came after the next section, and it's basically magical spells, how to construct magical items, magic artifacts and treasure, the monsters, all of which, we can go over, and then it goes into like maps and the adventure that they have in the game. So what I think I should do for the next Arduin adventure is actually create some Arduin characters, and or maybe I should do the module, go over the module with you guys so you can see what it is that they're thinking would be a level up situation, because they're leveling in this beginning basic version of Arduin. They're going with when you achieve certain goals, you level up. When you achieve more goals, you level up. And then when you get to a certain level, then the experience points kick in. So that's just kind of an update. I'm not going to do Arduin this week, simply because I'm kind of behind. Sorry, all my Arduin lovers out there. I love Arduin too, and I do want to play this, but what I might do is make a character. I don't know. Keep it simple. Do one, maybe make one for each of the classes, have them all be the same race, and then show how they mechanically operate. I know mechanics bad in role play. Well, they're there for a reason. We do need them a little bit, which brings me to my dice here that I got. My little whatever company this is. They're glow in the dark. Look. It's okay. If you like dice, Granny understands. I got some weird ones. Okay. I don't have all the weird ones. I just have some of the weird ones. It's okay. Like your dice. Love your dice. Collect dice you're never going to use. I understand. I understand the dice addiction. Don't collect dice that you don't want to collect. Absolutely. If you're like, nah. So why do I got dice out, and what's the subject? Well, the live feed was, there is no such thing as hopeless characters. A little bit about coping mechanisms. Get some before you come to my table. If I ever your DM, I'm just going to be like, ooh, what are you talking about? Safe words. We don't do that. Because I expect you to be adult. That really comes down to it. I expect you to be at least as adult as the children at the table. Which means if they're unhappy about something, they will tell me. As an adult, you should have this ability as well. Just put it out there. If you're an internet person who thinks that's mean and unreasonable, I'm telling you what my expectations are. Go find a DM that has a different expectations. Then you'll be happy. It's that simple. All right, so dice. What am I going to do with dice, and what does that have to do with role play? All games, or at least most of them that I've played, have game mechanics of some kind. Whether it works on 1d6, whether it has multiple d6s, whether it has all these kind of dice, all the math dice. Where's the little camera on this thing? I don't know. There we go. Right? Or weird dice I don't have in my hand because they're weird. They have dice normally. I mean, you can play it without dice. You can use chits that do the same thing. You could use cards. Obviously, use a little spinner. You can get the bingo machine out. Seriously, there's so many things you can do. If you need a randomizer, that's what the dice are. They're randomizers, and they're statistical percentages to deal with variables. Yeah, math class. Remember that? Some of you? Maybe not. Okay, but that's what they are. So how do you role play that stuff? Let's see if I can demonstrate all me by myself. So let's say we're doing the D20 cult, people love the D20 version of combat. where you either have to roll above a number or below a number, depending on the version of the game you're playing, the game, etc. And you're doing combat. All right. So how do you start teaching people to role play? Well, first, the buck stops with you as the referee. All right. So you can't really expect players to pick up on what you want if you're not doing some of the stuff yourself. Kind of, lead by example. I think we've all heard that one. Well, you kind of have to. That doesn't mean you have to do funny voices. It just means you've got to do something like this. You got your dice. The goblin is attacking. It's the goblin's turn to attack. Elric, the elf. Yes. The goblin charges at you. He jumps in the air and he's trying to cleave you with his rusty sword. And he hits. Except don't say hits. Well, you can say hits. And it slashes into your leg. And you're bleeding because you don't have any armor. What do you do? Your turn. All right. Something like that. I didn't even do that very well. But it's more exciting than... Hear that? Hear the little dice rolling around? The goblin hit you. Take 2 hit points damage. Oh, let me roll another dice for that. Take 5 points damage. Whatever. It's... If you want to translate this, and it takes practice, and, I've been doing the player character end of it most recently, so you want to translate this into actual words, not game mechanics. And I'm guilty of it. I'm totally guilty of doing that a good chunk of my role-playing game life. Okay? And only having moments of role-playing, both as a referee and as a player. So that's normal. And sometimes you have to be the only one at the table. It's your turn, Kenny. I grab my club. I scream, "Oh, holy Solaris, I will smite these evil demons, foul beast creatures, and I swing." My club flies right over the demon's head. I know what's going to happen now. Solaris, save us. Okay, I'm playing a cleric. Kenny the cleric. And then when somebody else does really good, even if they just said, "I hit," and then the DM's like, "Okay, roll 1d6. And they go, 6. Elric cleaved him in 2. Oh, holy Solaris! Thank you for blessing us. I will do that because I'm trying to help the other players who are right now just wrapping their heads around what the DM expects with this, and pull them forward into getting to the point where they're like, "I grab my battle axe and I jump down and I try to cleave him in 2. I cleaved him in 2." So, you have to get them there. And sometimes it requires you being incredibly silly, like I was just doing. That's the other thing. This is not, a lot of people, "Oh my God, I'm in a group of people. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't. And I don't know what I'm doing. I've never played this game before. And that guy's super confident, but I'm not." You have to kind of pull them along a little bit. Okay. As a DM, you may have to prompt them. Okay, what do I do again? Okay. Well, it's your turn in the combat. What are you doing? Oh, I got a short sword. I'm going to use that. Okay, you're using your short sword, and you are, yeah, and it's tedious. I know, but they will get better. All right. And they will gradually get into it. And the more and more people who start saying things like, I grab my oil flask and I throw it. And, you know, maybe the DM's on his side going, okay, it breaks when it hits the ground. And the next person's like, I throw the torch on it. You know, you can get them there. A lot of times they're going to be doing the whole, can I? And maybe your response should be, well, can you? Is that what you want to do? And they'll be like, yeah. Then state what you want to do. Make them restate what they're going to do so that they start to learn to say what they're going to do versus can I, may I, all that stuff over and over again. It will take a while to break those habits, whether they're new players or whether they're old players, because they either have habit of playing a certain way, and I'm not judging people. It's, you know, especially if you come from the old school with all the mechanics. I mean, I love old school games. I do. I do. I love getting in those crunchy numbers and stuff. But the point of D&D and all the other role-playing games that came about was to try to recreate what was a very impromptu situation that occurred in a war game, where two players decided they wanted to have a duel, and it came out great. This is my understanding. So with that understanding, where they totally played, you know, challenging each other, probably, you know, I challenge you to a duel, smack, smack, you know, with the glove. Whatever they did. And everyone was like, that was awesome. How do we recreate that? Yeah, next game, right? So, you know, when you've got a scenario like that, and then other people going, you know what would be really fun is if we could war game this fantasy war. Oh yeah, but how are we going to do dragons? You know, it built. It built, okay? But that's why, you know, when you read about Gary, or you get like the really old rules, and it's like, and the dungeon master rolled everything, and everyone's like, what? And he was behind this, and nobody could see him, and disembodied voice and all this stuff, right? What's going on there? What's going on is they're trying to figure out how to get the people playing to not worry about the sheets of paper. DM's worrying about that. Not worrying about this dice or 3 of these, okay? And listen to what they're being told. They need to ask questions. They may need to, you know, like you weren't clear enough. And have a conversation going like you get in a book, like you see in a movie and hear, like you hear on a radio show, and sort of get that going so that they're not focused on these. And I love to roll dice. So I don't have a problem with people rolling dice at all. But you've got to learn to translate this into actual something else. Okay. And if you need help, assign somebody to help who knows how to already has a clue about how to play the game. Like, I'm helping the person who is DMing the current game that I am in. I am helping by attempting to demonstrate how to role play a character. And trust me, most people don't even try to role play their clerics. I went with the cleric because 1, we didn't have one, and 2, they're usually played so poorly. Like, people will do better with role playing just about every other all the others. But for some reason, cleric, they're just like, and I played clerics in the past, and I was okay. But I know I can look back at those nostalgia games, and I had a blast. In no way was I not into the game or not having fun or not being challenged or any of that stuff. But I could have done it better. I simply didn't have no clue how to do it better. I was a kid. I was a teenager. And gradually we did get better at stuff. Okay. And then you became an adult, and there were some missing years there of just life, right? And then coming back and forth between games. And each time coming away with, I can do this better. I can do something different. Me, myself. All right. So I'm trying to demonstrate how to do a character that is traditionally played very poorly in all fantasy role-playing games, and how to do it better. All right? How to be a good role model for role-playing. All right? At the same time, I know the DM, he hasn't DM'd for a while, so he's like, refreshing his brain, and, he comes from the mechanical era. Okay? This does not mean he doesn't role-play NPCs. He totally role-plays NPCs. And if you are not role-playing at the right moment, he will nail you. So, no. But mechanics come up a bit, and I'm tracking stuff to help him, to help keep our movement going, to help keep momentum going. And so he doesn't have to sit there and find stuff or tell people to find stuff. I got to make those new player character sheets this weekend. I've got floating around in my head for the group. But I'm trying to help him, because we both understand D&D sufficiently. It doesn't matter what edition that we have a clue. It doesn't even matter if it's not being called D&D. All right, we know what we're looking at. No, this is just D&D. Okay, so we're helping each other, and we're trying to help the group learn how to play. Because we do have long-term goals for the group, which includes one of those other people getting to run some kind of role-playing game. But first, they got to learn how to role-play. First, they got to get past their fear of breaking rules or not taking risks. And by risk, I don't even mean taking risks with their player characters. I mean taking the risk of looking silly. Once we get them past that, and we're getting there, they're, like I said, totally improving on things. Focus, role-playing, starting to get better, at least amongst adults. Kids, it's focus. So once they get past the focus issues, we've already are starting to see small improvements in the role-playing. So you guys understand what I'm getting at here. I mean, it's like beating a dead horse, I know, but you can do it. You can lead by example and still have your game mechanics. The other thing is, take GURPS here. I mean, I know Ardern is going to be its whole thing, but take GURPS here. Starts out with a pretty simple premise, but I've forgotten. I'm looking through it today, and I was like, yeah, how did we do the skill things? I know we only got so many dice, and all so excited. This is a well-used game book. For those of you who oh, you didn't take care of your book well. Well, when did I get this book? How old was I? I was probably a kid. I was a kid. I'm looking at the copyright on here. I was a kid. Dragging this thing around in my book bag, probably. I mean, we played a bunch of GURPS games. They were usually GURPS was used for if we weren't doing Gamma World or D&D. So if you're doing something else, we were using GURPS until we got other game systems. We tried those out, and maybe we liked those game systems, maybe we didn't. Like I said, I couldn't get anybody into Traveler. Poor Traveler. I miss my Traveler game. I'm going to have to replace it. I mean, I've got the GURPS version, but I mean the actual. Yeah. But my point being is this was the one that got used for space a lot until we switched space games. We used this for like cowboys, and we just used it for other stuff, spy stuff. Even though we got spy games eventually. So GURPS was kind of like our fallback too. You can see I got like highlighted stuff in the book. What's this on? General damage. Yes, instant death. Maybe that's where I got the idea that no, you're just dead. No, there's no saving throw on this one. No, you cannot ride a tactical nuclear bomb out of a bomber and survive that. I don't care how many hit points you have. I don't care. You're dead. Vaporized. But I was looking in here, and they got a section on skills somewhere in here, game mastery and whatever. They got all kinds of stuff in here. But wherever this skills section is, I was looking at it, and I forgot that they had like different add and subtract for your ability scores based on which ability score it was. Like they've only got like 4 things. I mean, and there's handwritten notes because I had to like make what did I do? I made like, oh yeah, see, that's me. I wrote that. I wrote that right wherever it is. Where did it go? Over here. See that? See that? See that scribble? That's my kid hand scribble. All right. Because they didn't have a very hard for physical skills. And I thought there should be a very hard for physical skills. But then I'm looking at it with different set of eyes. And I'm going, why did they even complicate it with making it easier to do mental stuff and harder to do physical stuff? Why do they do that? You see what I'm saying? Like, if I play GURPS, which we will be, now I got to go look, is this something they fixed in 4th edition or not? If they didn't fix it in 4th edition, well, I'm fixing it. Because I want to be able to memorize the point system, the difficulty skill adjustment. Or I don't have to think about it. It's just there. And I know we changed things in D&D when we were kids that I kept doing as an adult. And then I'm like watching videos now as an adult going, this is new to everybody? Oh no, man, we changed. We stopped doing that years ago. Why are you doing individual initiative? You got table 8 people. That's going to take forever. Plus 20 monsters? No, do group initiative. Who's got the best chance of getting the best initiative? If you're going to do initiative, is it even necessary to do initiative on the first turn? Or any turn after that? Is it actually necessary? Just get rolling. Describe it and roll it. Describe it and rolling. Describing and rolling. Describing and rolling. Play the characters. Keep it moving. It really doesn't matter what you have them doing. They can be in the market haggling. Keep the haggling moving. So simplify the rules. Keep it simple, stupid is the best advice you can give anybody playing a role-playing game. Making role-playing game rules. Because we can always overcomplicate things. Human beings are like, that's what we do, especially Western civilization. We'll take something simple like heaven, hell, and where we're living in the middle, right? Okay? And then we will break that down into different terminology. They're still using the three in mythology. And somebody will sit there and tell you that their word for heaven is completely different than somebody else's word for heaven. And their 3-tiered system is completely different. And everybody else who's listening is going, it's the same thing. Don't you? Yeah, I think it's the same thing. right? And then someone will come along and go, well, we got to have layers and side branches and all stuff. Next thing you know, there's like 20 levels of something, and they're all, oh no, and then in between that is this, and this is how you know, and you're like, man, theology class got super complicated. Is it really this complicated? I don't think it is as complicated. Like everybody's tripping, you know? But we do that with everything. We do that with everything. Once you get a bunch of people who have nothing better to do than come up with rules, systems, and categories, that's what they do. It's like it's an obsession. You know the clicker tape, and you gotta label everything and go around and you know, it's like an obsession with this culture. And I'm the person always in the class going, keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Because even complicated stuff usually isn't that complicated. Unless you make it complicated. And we're very, very good at making things complicated as a culture. When really most of the culture is functioning on the keep it simple. I mean, do we really know, all of us, all the laws that have been written in the United States of America on a federal level? No. Do you know all the laws that have been written in your state that you're supposed to live by? No. And I'm sure this applies to any country, by the way. Any province, whatever you want to call your area. Do you know your local laws in detail? No. Do you know every single driving regulation in the driver's handbook for your state? Every single one of them. It's a big book, trust me. I know. I have to memorize sections of it. The answer is going to be no. You're going to know stuff that's relevant to what you do daily. You're not going to know what's relevant to a oil rig owner and operator. You're not going to know what's relevant to being a fireman, what laws they got to follow. You know, in your mind, you're like, well, they got to put out fires, come to emergencies, and generally not be jerks. Right? Generally not do bad things. But you don't actually know all their rules. You know, they probably have to do some confidentiality stuff. You probably know a little bit about that, but you don't know. So, do you have to know every rule that somebody's written for GURPS or D&D or even Arden? No. You need to figure out what the simple part is. What makes the game tick. And if it's clunking, then you need to look what's clunking in it and make an adjustment in how you're handling it. That's why there's so many house rules. That's why. Someone made an adjustment. Now, some people like to get like super complicated. And then they make rules even clunkier. But learn to role play your roles. Try to keep your rules fast and simple enough that you don't have to look stuff up a lot. There is actually, on the old D&D, there was a way to memorize the charts. New stuff, I'm not sure. I haven't put in the time to see if you can do that with all the rules, because they've got some wonky, weird ones in there at times. That's my advice here. And I'm going to get off the net, because I'm not doing an Arden thing today. I think what we'll do is probably start looking at the adventure next week. And we'll do more psionics next week as well. And we'll start seeing what I would change in GURPS after I take a look at the 4E free rules for it. And do that. I think you could probably role play a lot of games, just not board games. I mean, board games are kind of harder to role play. You got to move the little dudes around, but still, you could have fun. I mean, when we played, let's see, when did we get most role play with a board game? Just a regular old board game I have around the house. Monopoly. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're like, Monopoly? I'm like, yeah, well, we have Star Wars and Star Trek. Monopoly. Star Trek, by far, is everyone's favorite. And we're talking about blowing up people's planets in those games and taking out their fleets. You know, we're razzing each other. Well, we're role-playing a little bit. At least we're having fun. So, why won't this go back in? It's so weird. It would fit in there before. So, that's the deal. Okay. Like, subscribe, comment. Have a great day. Bye.